What's happening, good people? Welcome to the Wealth 100 Show. I'm your host, George Gilmore, and it's go time. Listen, guys, each week we bring on six-figure professionals and entrepreneurs who are winning in life and business. If you're ready to take your life to the next level, you found the right place. I need you to get into the room right now, guys. I'm putting you in the room with winners that will help push you towards your dreams. Finally, if you want to grow your business, grow your network, and live your dreams to the fullest, I encourage you to apply to the Wealth 100 Mastermind at thewealth100.com, where lives are being transformed through self-development and access to wealth-building opportunities. Welcome to the Wealth 100 Show. Let's go. Yo, what's going on, guys? Welcome to the Wealth 100 podcast. I am your host, George Gilmore. I got my good friend, Mr. TJ Jenkins, in the building. What up, my friend?
How you doing today?
Y'all know T's been on here before, but look, we had some things happen in the nation in the last week that pissed me off. I'm just going to call it that. I'm saying it straight up right now. This affirmative action case that we just had, man. And I thought we had to talk about it.
Speak on it.
We got to talk about it. Yeah. I mean, it's affecting our families, period.
So I guess this is the thing. Not a lot of people realize how it affects us, though. I think that's the biggest issue that I have.
Right.
Is we don't, like, we're turning a blind eye to, like, exactly. We're not paying attention to what it really means.
Listen. I'll probably say a few things today that'll probably piss some people off. I don't care. You can't choke me out. Because that's what this stuff is doing to the black community and brown communities, period. Listen, we're going to talk about it today, but I think we need to go back a little bit because a lot of people get it twisted in regards to affirmative action in America.
Right.
The title today, the subject today, America loves affirmative action. That's for me. Right. America loves affirmative action.
Right.
It's based on who the affirmative action is for, sir.
Correct.
It's always been that way.
Correct.
But the country has a problem when affirmative action is for black people, brown people, multiculturalism, women. It's a problem.
Okay.
That's where we're going today. Okay. Y'all can tell I'm hyped today. I need to calm down. Let me calm down. Talk. Say something. I know you got something.
You had an energy drink today?
No, I had no energy drink. I don't even have energy today. But we're gonna talk about this for a little bit.
Let's go,
man. We got to take it back just a little bit. This is the prediction: the amount of time to close the racial wealth gap in America for African Americans compared to our white brothers and sisters is 250 years.
250 years. So I want to state something. This is why I start off with saying I don't think we realize the magnitude here. It's because we walk around here, and I'm including everybody. Everybody over here, we walk around here. What we're going to get? We're going to get that Benz. We're going to get that luxury car. We flossing on the gram. We on Instagram and social media, right?
Say it.
And not realizing the impact it's had. We're making less than 1% of the wealth in America?
Absolutely, 1%.
Less than 1%. So what is that getting you? That getting you a couple snaps on Instagram, but is that really getting you generational wealth? Is that really putting your family in a place where it changes their lifestyle? Absolutely not.
Listen, guys, I'm going to take you back a little bit because we got to go back to the foundation. You got to go back to the foundation to understand how the system works.
Right.
I'm going to talk to you just a little bit right here. This is from a documentary called Race, The Power of an Illusion. Many middle-class white people, especially those of us who grew up in the suburbs, like to think that we got to where we are today by virtue of merit, hard work, intelligence, and maybe a little luck. That word merit, you hear that all the time. We can't let these students in. We're a meritocracy.
Right.
We are not a meritocracy. Stop the lying. You got to stop.
So Drew,
we're not a meritocracy.
Let me tell you, I think you went over some people here already. Explain them better. I'm just stating the obvious.
Go with it.
It went off their mind. Please explain what meritocracy.
Everybody gets to where they get to based on their merit, based on their skill, based on their own intelligence, based on their own will. That's a flat out lie. Right. Period. We are not a meritocracy. Period, right. Sir. We are not a meritocracy. What we don't acknowledge is that racial preferences have a long institutional history in this country, a white history. Here are a few ways in which the government programs and practices have channeled wealth, opportunities to our white brothers and sisters at the expense of others. Go follow the documentary again, Race, The power of an illusion. 17th century, when European indentured servants, the original source of unfree labor on the new tobacco plantations of Virginia and Maryland, were replaced by African slaves. Replaced. Based on what? Race.
Oh, they were indentured servants. They weren't slaves.
Yeah.
They were replaced by slaves.
Replaced by slaves, exactly.
Right.
In exchange for their support and their policing of the growing slave population, lower class Europeans won new rights, entitlements, and opportunities from the planter elite. Understand, guys, the foundational wealth of America is off the backs of African people. There would be no America. There would be no superpower if Africans had not been enslaved. Your wealth comes off the back of people who look like me and Mr. Jenkins. Facts.
Free labor. Yep.
Free labor.
Free labor.
I don't think nobody's going to argue that, but somebody will try to argue that.
Free labor.
Somebody will try to argue that.
I got a question. Did they pay taxes on that front?
I don't think any taxes was on the free labor.
No,
man, let me see. No, I'm getting ready to cut up. I'm not going to do that. I was going to say some nonsense. I'm not getting ready to say that. This is how it began, guys. Listen to this. These are some of the facts. The 1830 Indian Removal Act, for example, forcibly relocated Cherokee, Creeks, and other Eastern Indians to west of the Mississippi River to make room for their white settlers. The 1862 Homestead Act followed, giving away millions of acres for free of what had been Indian territory west of the Mississippi. Ultimately, 270 million acres, or 10% of the total land area of the United States, was converted to private hands, overwhelmingly white, under the Homestead Act. Name me the year that black people got 270 million acres to build upon.
Never.
207. Do you understand the wealth that was transferred to our white brothers and sisters, to the white community? 270 million acres.
So let's
this is insane.
Right, but let's even bag this up a little bit. Let's take me.
And to my white friends, please do not be offended. These are just facts. This is not to offend anybody, but we got to tell the truth in America. And I'm tired of this whole thing of black people are just lazy. We don't work hard. It's over. I'm tired of that, man. I'm just telling it. George just jumped off the ledge.
I made something rough a little further there. Some of them.
Some of who? Everybody. That's the point.
Yeah, some of them a little lazy.
Some of who? Everybody. Yeah. That's the point. We always want to say that. Yeah. Oh, it's just black people. No. Cultures across the board have lazy people in them. Right. What are we talking about? Right. Let's don't go. We ain't going to do that. Go ahead. You can research.
No, that's what I was going to touch on.
Watch this. The 1790 Naturalization Act permitted only free white persons to become naturalized citizens, thus opening the doors to European immigrants, but not others. Wait a minute. You got black people over here doing work, but we're opening the doors
to the European.
Oh, right. Okay. I'm following. I'm tracking. Only citizens could vote, serve on juries, hold office, in some cases, even hold property. In this century, the Allen Land laws passed in California and other states reserved farmland, watch this, guys, for white growers by preventing Asian immigrants ineligible to become citizens from owning or leasing land. Immigration restrictions further limited opportunities for non-white groups. Racial barriers to naturalized U.S. citizenship weren't removed until the McCarran-Walter Act in 1952, and white racial preferences in immigration remained until 1965.
So I definitely want to touch on something that you say here.
Talk.
And I don't think this is what many people realize. As humans, just humans in general, right? Mm-hmm. What do we need to survive? Food. Mm-hmm. If you control the food source, what do you control? Everything. So if you were not permitted to own land, you're gonna stay a slave. That means your source of feeding yourself came from somebody else, came from the owner.
You making me laugh, man. You're making me laugh. In the South, the government after the Civil War said that they would give freed slaves 40 acres and a mule.
I ain't got my 40 acres
as reparations. Never upheld that.
So that's a great question. My question to you is, why do you think so? That's the first thing.
You don't want to know why.
Yeah, I do. I want to know why.
I'm not. If I give you land, you're in the game.
Right.
You can fully participate. You can feed yourself. Okay. You can clothe yourself. You're in. You got something to work with.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Do you feel like the reparations should be given now, being that the amount of time that's been passed?
Absolutely, I do. I cannot literally burn you to the core, to the ground, and for 300 and 400 years almost, and then come back and say, hey guys, all the wealth is stacked in my box. You have no wealth. You have to repair.
Okay. So
humanity says you have to repair.
Okay, so then I got another question. Mm-hmm. So how are you going to handle those reparations being the amount of people is in the United States now, African American, and giving each of them 40 acres and mule? Somebody going to be short.
So who's going to be short? This is my thing. America spends money all over the earth, period. Trillions of dollars to billions of dollars. Right. This nation, that nation, this nation. I'm not saying that you can affirm or repair in 1 year, right. But over a 20-year process. Put it this way: they estimate, these are the actual estimates. They believe that just the economic impact of enslavement of Africans was $14 to $20 trillion. I'm not talking about the loss of life and all the other brutal crap that went along with it. I'm just talking about the money part. Right. 14 to 20 trillion.
And that's way back
Yes, then. That's what the impact of that
is. Yeah.
Come on. Talk to me. Listen, we're back to what we were talking about, reparations. Watch this. We could not repair the African community, but watch what we did. The government officials paid up to $300 per slave upon emancipation, not to slaves, but to local slaveholders as compensation for loss of property. Man, this is sick.
Insurance.
This is sick.
That's all it was. They got to pay the insurance policy.
This is sickness. Don't talk to me about reparations, affirmative action, or nothing. This is sick, bro. Right. Talk to me. Come on, G. George jumped off the table today, guys. We jumped off the tables. Less known or more recent governmental and racial preferences. First enacted during the New Deal, that directed wealth to white families and continued to shape life and opportunities as chances today. The Social Security Act of 1935 provided a safety net for millions of workers, guaranteeing them an income after retirement. But that act specifically excluded two occupations: agricultural workers and domestic servants. Guess who were the servants? Who were the agricultural workers?
We were.
So you excluded.
Right.
This is what year was it? 1935. 1935.
So is that,
my grandma was born in 1929.
So is that why everybody says now that Social Security is coming to ends because we're in? It's too many of us.
It's too many of you in. We didn't want y'all to get in here.
Okay. Now, and I'm just bringing a few things.
It's too many people.
I was literally just thinking about it yesterday. So glad you said it, because I was thinking about the Social Security. Do you think that's why? So I was watching, like everybody else is watching, a few programming, and they were saying where they were intentionally dropping, back in the day, late 80s, they were intentionally dropping drugs into the African American community. Do you think that was part of it? To eradicate.
Some people say we can get into conspiracy theories, but it happened. Now, why did it happen? I don't know. We do know. We do know. Let me take that back. I do know why it happened.
So was it a problem when it got out of our community into other communities?
Always is. Always. So the stuff is clear. It's always a problem. As long as we're being affected negatively, whatever, that's us just being unruly. Right. When it affects other communities, wait a minute, we got to get some help for this. We got to figure this out. That's just part of the course, part of the game.
Gotcha.
Part of the game. It's a big game. Watch this. Let me see where we're going. Like Social Security, 1935 Wagner Act helped establish an important new right for our white brothers. By granting unions the power of collective bargaining, it helped millions of white workers gain entry into the middle class over the next 30 years. 30 years going to the middle class. Talk to me now. But the Wagner Act permitted unions to exclude non-whites and denied them access to better paid jobs and union protections and benefits such as healthcare, job security, and pensions. Many craft unions remained nearly all white into the 1970s. In 1972, for example, every single one of 3,000 members of the Los Angeles Steel Filters Union was white. 1970. I'm born in 1968, guys. My mother came out of college in 1973 at Fayetteville State University.
Right.
Guess what she couldn't do in Cumberland County?
What?
She couldn't teach in Cumberland County, TJ.
What?
There's a racial preference going. I don't know if it was written policy, but unwritten policy. But she had to go to another county, a poorer county, teach for a year or two, then come back. 1973, guys.
Gotcha.
1973.
So
are you listening?
Yeah. So I want to bring some up that's relevant today, and this is from a 2022 Forbes article because I'm in the market, advertising agencies, marketing advertising, and so it's not far from this. So only 8. So out of the around Blacks and African Americans employees only make up 5.8% of the advertising industry. 5.8%. While 8% identify as Hispanic or Latino, 7% Asian, and 23 as other, and 0.54% are white or Caucasian. That's today's facts for the advertising industry.
2023.
But who is the consumer?
We know who the consumer is.
Who is the major consumer?
We're always the biggest consumers.
We're the biggest consumers.
We actually love America. That's the crazy thing. Are you following me?
Yeah.
We support America. We support America, even though I'm not going to say anything. But anyway, let's go back to this right here. We're going to get to business also because this is around business, economics, livelihoods, generational wealth. Right. This is what this is going to be around. I just wanted to state some of the facts, the early facts, to show you how we got to where we are. I'm going to say like one more thing in this area, and then I'm going to get on to the business side of it. And then we're going to close out because it's not going to be long. Let me see. The New Deal program, the Federal Housing Administration that helped generate much of the wealth that so many of white families enjoy today. These revolutionary programs made it possible for millions of our white Americans, but not others, to own a home for the first time. The government set up a national neighborhood appraisal system, explicitly tying mortgage eligibility to race. Integrated communities were ipso facto deemed a financial risk and made ineligible for a home loan, a policy known today as redlining. Between 1934 and 1962, the federal government of the United States backed $120 billion of home loans. More than 98% went to our white friends. Of the 350,000 new homes built with federal support in Northern California between 1946 and 1960, fewer than 100 went to African Americans. So you can get rid of slavery, you can get rid of everything that happened before the New Deal, and you still see race-based preferences to our white friends that set you financially apart for generations. Period.
So I think even the bigger part, let me pick a part out of that. Let me pick a part out of that, is that we didn't become homeowners doing that.
It's not. You couldn't own it.
Right, you couldn't own it. So in listening to those facts and stats, the white and Caucasians became homeowners. We became renters. And to this day, we're still majority renters.
Systems.
Right.
Systems. It's all, this is from the beginning, guys. This is from the beginning. I'm going to stop on this part because I could keep going for another 30 minutes on some of the things, a lot of the things. But let's talk about business a little bit. Can we talk about that? Right. Let's just go back to that side because we do run a mastermind called the Wealth 100, which we work on self-development and entrepreneurship in the African American community, guys. Listen, the black population right now is right at 12.1%, 47 million of us. American businesses, we own 2.3% of American businesses. We generate $206 billion in annual revenue. The expanded population is around, 20% of the population now, $800 billion in revenue. Sounds great. Let's talk about banking and venture capital, some of the things we talked about this past weekend. Access, I'm a black guy, I've got a great invention, I've got a great idea, man, this thing is working, I got it working a little bit in the community, I need some venture capital. I go to the venture capital firms, I reach out, talk to them, watch this. 1% of venture capital goes to the black community. Sounds race-based to me. My idea is as good as your idea, it sounds race-based. Maybe not. But I'm going to take a scientific guess or unscientific guess. It's race-based.
It's race-based, right.
2% of venture capital, my friends, goes to the Hispanic community. How is that possible? Sounding race-based to me. Again, what was my title today? America loves affirmative action, as long as it's not for other folks. That's just facts, man. Bank funding. 80% of white business owners get bank funding. I'm getting this from the government stats.
Yeah.
They get bank funding. Watch this. 60% of black business owners. But think about that 6% is only 2% of the 14 million people.
Right.
So that's like a drop in the bucket. Talk to me. Let's talk about when the loans that we receive. 54% of our white owners receive the full amount of funds sought from a bank when you're trying to get a loan. 26% of black business owners receive the funds. How do we keep having these disparities? And when you study them, the people are generally in the same economic position.
Right.
Usually middle class. You know what I mean? You know what it looks like.
Right.
You know what it looks like. Let's watch this. Black, indigenous, and people of color receive on average $30,000 less than their white counterparts. They also receive an interest rate on average 1.4%. How does something like this happen across the board in every area of life?
Because we sleep. We don't own the industry. Like let's speak facts here. We don't own any of these industries. We're consumers of these industries, or we're entry level. So we can work at the bank as a manager of a bank, branch manager of a bank, but we can't work in the corporate office making the corporate decisions.
So
those are that is where these things. I mean, let's even take the government. Are we like what percentage are we on actually making these laws in legislature for black business owners?
Not.
Thank you. You know, as a black entrepreneur, I can tell you, I can count all 10 digits of how many times that we get denied for bank loans, or is this not? I never forget when I first, and this was a real discouraging point. Never forget, I went to a bank. I'm not gonna say the bank of it now, but it was one of the first banks that when I first started the business went with, and I remember I got a mortgage got a mortgage with them. Came back, I banked with them personally and business. Went back to that same bank and said, I want a $5,000 credit card just for the business. I had an X amount. I'm gonna say I had a large sum sitting in their bank already. I went in for a $5,000 credit loan for a $5,000 credit card for the business. These jokers told me. So let me start it. Before I went into the guy's office, he came out saying, "I'm so excited. This guy didn't even have a credit score. Came from another country, not knocking any of that."
Right.
He said he didn't have a credit score, and I got him approved. He got a loan, credit card, blah, blah. I was like, cool. I know I'm about to get something out of here then. You know, if I had a mortgage with you, so my credit is up to par, I got X amount of money in the bank with you, so that's all of what I think is relevant. Sorry, Ms. Jenkins, we don't know why your credit decision came back is no. For a $5,000 credit card, and I have X amount in the bank with you sitting there already. So I go up, and I never forget this. I went back to the front, the girl said, something's not right. And she told me, you need to ask for somebody higher. I went up to the guy who made the decision on the credit card. Back then it wasn't computer-based. It was somebody sitting in front of me.
Right, looking at it. And I remember going up and he says, yeah, we denied you. I said, but I want to know why. He said, well, denied you because, you just don't meet our criteria. I said, well, I'm looking at your eligibility and I feel like I'm in line with everything that goes there. I said, matter of fact, I got a mortgage with you. He said, matter of fact, I don't even know how you got a mortgage with us. And I said, because I qualified. That was his name. That was his exact thing. So I went back to the person who did my loan application, and they went off. They were furious because he couldn't believe that somebody told a customer that they didn't qualify. He said, you qualify because your credit score is almost at 800. You qualify because you have X amount sitting in our bank. You qualify because you have almost no debt. You have qualified because he went down the list of lines. So you're making my skin
all the
right
qualifications.
Now, man. I promise you.
Right?
Man.
And I never forget, I went to a meeting that I was invited to by predominantly white group. And he came at me, told me his name, shook my hand. I said, oh, I remember you very well. You the guy who denied me for the loan and told me I didn't qualify for the loan. But now we're amongst different people. Right. When I said it, but when I said it, everybody else heard. And they kind of stopped like, we don't know where it's going. And it was a point where even I think he said, damn. He he's right. They got me, and I'm in a situation. So now you want me to be a part of your organization,
right?
But I wasn't good enough to get a $5,000 credit card.
Yeah, that wasn't even a card. It's crazy.
Yeah,
that's the thing that people don't understand. There are so many stories like this, and when we tell them, they're like, "Oh, that's just one-offs." It's not one-offs. Right. It's every day, man. Right. It's every day, the entirety of our lives, man. I can tell the story when my parents were starting their business. They were already in a smaller business, doing pretty well in the healthcare space, running mental health facilities. And my mom went to get her first loan. It was a $100,000 loan. I remember 1993, 92, somewhere around there. My parents had been banking at this bank all their working lives, for 20 years at least, had some money in the bank. My mother was well-educated, undergraduate degree, master's level degree, already had experience in the space. And we applied for this $100,000 loan. And we went round and round with this bank. This is your home bank, your hometown bank. To this day, I refuse to go to that bank. I will not put a dime in their bank. Just not going to do it. Never happened. And they've approached me too about, and I always tell them, never. You can't get it. No, you can't get our business. And no, I'm not coming there personally.
Right.
But the crazy thing, a young lady of a different race who was a friend of my mother's, who had no experience in the space, had no educational level like my mother at all, was able to go to that same bank, different branch, get the money.
She got the money.
Oh, watch this. The state of North Carolina had sent a letter to the bank saying, hey, the business that this lady's going into, we guarantee it because we are she's contracted to us, right. With us.
So
the money's guaranteed from the state of North Carolina. Right. I'm telling you what I know. Right. They would not give my mom a loan. Other young lady got her loan. Just like that.
Out the door.
Are the criteria the same or they're not?
Oh, it's definitely different. That's two stories.
That's what I'm saying.
The same situation.
I've never heard you tell that. I don't think you've ever.
Yeah. So you know what I did? And this is, guys, it discouraged me so much. I ran my business off of cash basis for years. And you can never grow and expand in a business like that. You can only stay at a certain point. That's true. So that's handicapping. Yeah. That's handicapping my business from day to day. Yeah. It wasn't until SBA. Gotcha. So the federal government said, yeah, you get one, but the bank said I can't.
Listen, I'm talking to my community specifically out there. I'm talking to my friends out there. You got to understand that this life is real. This stuff is real that we're talking about, man. Black people aren't just making up these stories, wild stories about just basic stuff that's going on in our lives when it comes to financing and advancing in America economically, man. Right. Let's go to the anti-affirmative legislation that the Supreme Court came down with.
First of all,
go ahead. I'm gonna go ahead because I want to get to that.
Give us the background here, because people don't realize how important the Supreme Court justice is. Like in terms of laws, regulations, what it means for us, not only for our community, not only for business, but community, every little thing. People don't realize the history of that position. Explain that to us.
To be on the Supreme Court, first of all, you got to go to the right school. Right. That's the first thing.
No. Go ahead. What does it mean to be on? Go ahead. What do they do?
They tell you everything that's going to happen. Your life operates based on what these guys say.
Exactly.
Period. From bottom line. If these guys say it is so or it isn't so, that's what it is. Right. That's what it is. And we're having to deal with that challenge. And you have a group that's there right now with a mindset of, I'm gonna just be real clear. You hear them all the time. If you follow these legal scholars talking about originalism. Originalism means all the way back to the beginning, guys. All the way back to the beginning. What did the Constitution say at the beginning? That's what they want.
That's what they want.
Originalism.
Right.
Again, white, male, Christian control of everything. That's what Don't let people tell you anything else. That's what it means. Don't get mad at George. I didn't write it. We didn't. That's what always bothers me. Black people didn't make the rules up. We're a nation of rules made by our white friends. Yeah. That's what it is, man. Is it not?
It is.
Originalism. You don't need to control anything. Not just black men, black women. They don't want, excuse me, white women. They don't want you to control anything. Right. Why is 80-some% of all power and wealth in the hands of white Christian males? God didn't create that. You can't tell me God created one group or one class of people to just be geniuses and everybody else are idiots. Look, you got me going off now. You got me, hey, Frost in the back. They got me going off. You can't tell me I'm too intelligent for that. Right. There's a system, guys.
Preach on it.
There's a system going on right here. Go ahead, look. I'm going to get it. Look, man, you got me fired up.
Class system. Yeah.
Exactly. Let's talk about this thing a little bit. Who can come to the school now? Who can still come to the school? Who can get into these universities? We still have an opening space for people who are legacy. Legacy-based admission. Wait a minute. Why do we have legacy-based? Talk about it. Whose legacy?
It ain't mine.
Were black people able to go to school?
No, because
university?
I was about to say I was one off from being the first generation going to college.
So you one off from first generation.
You know, another side of the film, I was the first. so let's go from there.
Talk to me. Watch this. Let's go back to the university system itself. Mm-hmm. The university system itself was originally set up for slave owners' children to be educated,
right,
and then the white community to be. That's facts. Let's go back. What schools? That's just a few schools that were built by slave labor, slave wealth, and transportation of slaves. This is American history. The history that your guy down in Florida doesn't want taught.
Right.
This is that history. Watch this. Brown University, built off slave labor and wealth. Columbia University, Dartmouth College, Georgetown University.
I've been to Dartmouth.
Hamilton College, Harvard University, Johns Hopkins, University of Pennsylvania, Princeton, Rutgers, University of Virginia, College of William and Mary, Furman University, Yale University, University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill.
Those are all nice campuses.
Great campuses.
Those are nice.
Great schools.
The architecture is...
Man, that's some fine architecture those slaves did. What are we doing, man?
Hey.
That's right.
What are we doing?
Yeah.
What are we doing?
You know, to think about it, I've been to Dartmouth. Mm-hmm. Man, it's in the middle of almost nowhere. You think about it. Mm-hmm. They carried us that far.
Just get it done.
Yeah. Yeah. So there is one thing I want to speak about the difference, mm-hmm. and I'm gonna talk about the importance of relationship here as it relates to that as well. I never forget when I went to Dartmouth for an executive series class, mm-hmm. and he told me the director, the School of Business. He said, "Man, the average student that leaves our program, which I thought was great because I was trying to push all the generation below me to go."
Right.
He said the average person from our School of Business that leaves here, they're going to be CEOs of these major companies.
I wonder why.
And he said the average starting salary
mm-hmm.
is 3.5.
I understand.
I haven't seen an HBCU that has a relationship like that.
You're not going to have one.
For starting salaries coming out of their business.
You're not going to have one. Because this is a system. The system says, these are the people we want in the system. These are the people we're going to promote once they get out of this portion of the system into our new system, our other system. That's the facts. That's the facts. Relationship based. You can get in school based on relationship. What's relationship based? Oh, my mother was a instructor at the university. What black or brown instructors were at Harvard in the beginning?
Even now, it's not
exactly. So how do I get in? And another thing, I'm gonna get on this too, because you hear this, we're back on merit. It's not that black students aren't qualified. You can't get through the door.
Right.
It's not about qualifications. People get mad, they got in. You hear this, oh man, you've been hearing it all week. Well, if they don't have the qualifications, what about the legacy students that don't have the qualifications?
Right.
You got black students that can run numbers around some of our legacy entrance to school, but you don't have a problem with legacy base. If you got a problem with people getting in with scores less than, you should have a problem across the board.
So you know, one of the biggest things there is funding, the legacy funds.
The legacy funds, that's what it is.
You're paying your way, you're paying the generations way through college.
Thank you.
Hey.
Watch this. Let's do this one. That sound like Eddie Long. Watch this. Athletic-based exclusion. Wait a minute. Stop. We'll take your athletes, though. We'll take your athletes. Wait a minute.
But why?
Labor. Wealth. We build wealth for major universities.
Period. I am so happy NIL is in existence now.
Oh yeah. I got you.
How many football stadiums and basketball arenas do we fill?
All of them.
How many of these majors have contracts with television networks? How many billions trickle a university because of their athletic program?
Billions.
And I'm gonna say two things. I'm talking about the revenue sports, not the non-revenue.
Yes, exactly.
Not the non-revenue, the revenue
your basketball,
sports.
Your basketball,
your football.
Yeah. Who's dribbling that ball?
Yeah.
Shut up and dribble, LeBron.
So now the NIL came aboard, now we'll say this. Now the playing field is going to be a tad bit different. They're still going to make the money, but now it's pay to play. I'm not mad at it. They say, well, you're playing to go get an education, and I'm with you. But that legacy that came in the same thing.
Exactly.
His legacy got him an education, and now I'm filling the stadium. The difference is, I'm filling the stadium every week. If I'm the best athlete in the country, I have TV on me. I have endorsements that the school gets. I have followers. I'm packing butts in the seats for the stadium. I'm making millions off beer at a game and concession.
Yeah. Listen,
if I can own 1% of that beer concession,
you're good. So my question becomes, I've seen it today floating around. What if black athletes just begin to extract themselves from majority colleges? What if? And I'm talking about from a financial perspective, because they're not paying attention to what's going on.
That's a good question.
The only thing that America has paid attention to when it comes to us is how much money can I make from you. I'm just being clear. So if the black athlete extracts himself, because this is warfare against communities of color, sir. That's just facts. So we got a big challenge in the black community. If I'm this poor black kid and I see my way out by getting a scholarship to go play ball at UNC or Duke or whatever, it's going to get me $3 million in the next 24 months or so when I come out as a junior or whatever. That's very tempting for me to continue to go that path. Yeah. And I understand that it's a challenge.
And it is because you got to figure out where a lot of men, they were like, I've never had anything. Now this can change the trajectory of my family's future. It can. So you got to understand that portion.
Okay, so that's the point. It can change the trajectory of my family's future. Now watch this. Just say for 24 months, African American athletes, we ain't got 50% of them say, you know what? I just disagree with this nonsense. I'm a part of America too. My ancestors built this place too. We're going over here. Just 50%. You said it affected one person. If 50% of us pulled out, it affects all of us, all of our futures.
Correct.
And I don't know if we have that mindset at this point. But can we get? I know we know.
We can't.
Can we get to some of that? Just a portion. You understand what I'm saying?
Just a portion.
Because I'm about economics and understanding how it affects us.
But that's the only reason I say that. What is the alternative? What is the other option?
We don't have. You either gonna go or you gonna leave.
That's right. You don't have an option.
Yeah,
that's the thing. We don't have another option. It's not alternative.
It's rough.
Right.
It's rough. Right. But we got to figure it out. We need to talk about solutions too. Military academies. Guess what? They were exempted from the affirmative action ruling. Wait a minute. You just said it was a problem. Did the Supreme Court say it was a problem or not? Affirmative action is a problem. We are a colorblind nation. Biggest lie ever told. We just proved that we're not colorblind in any way or form or fashion. How do you exempt military academies? No, we still can have affirmative action for our military academies. You know why? We need black and brown bodies to help fight the wars that we have to fight. Wait a minute. Come on, T. Told you gotta be getting pissed at this. We still need you here to fight these wars.
Yeah, so you know, and I will say this.
Don't give them no leeway on that.
Let me be perfectly honest with you. My father was in the military.
Great place to go for black people.
Yeah, and he would tell me stories about, hey, this is why. You realize, I saw something on the guy's truck one day that said, freedom is not free, and it basically comes at a cost. And I realized that aspect of it. But then when you start getting to the intricacies of it, I started looking at how many in the future and how many now. What were the percentage of people who came in the military as colonels and captains versus infantry? What choices did they have? What other opportunities did they have to become high-ranking officials? And I would say, in my opinion, the strides have come a long way. Not saying it's there yet.
I'm gonna give you the numbers in a minute.
But the strides came a long way. Okay, good.
19% of enlisted people in the military are black. African American, black. Let's just say black. 8% of leadership in the military is black.
8%.
8%. So how does that happen, guys? How does that happen? So we went from leadership in corporate to leadership in military, but for some strange reason, seems like some race-based policy stuff is going on.
Right.
We're attacking every area. I could go down the road of area of life in America, and it's still race-based. Again, I said earlier, America loves affirmative action.
Don't get me set on entertainment, film, fashion. Those
we love it.
Those are things we, as African Americans, we love to death.
Yeah.
But we're on the bottom of the totem pole. We don't make any money. So the ones that you see that make a little bit of money, that's little compared to what's being made overall off us.
And I will say this, I'm getting off subject. People have seen, a lot of people in the majority community, oh, you got LeBron. They see athletes and entertainers make some money, and the rest of the black population, for the most part, is stuck on the bottom. We're stuck in second-class citizenship. Yeah. Let's just be clear. Yeah. Let's be clear about it. That's what's happening. But
and you know, and this is what I like to tell, you know, my people. You got to look at, you know, you look at the flash of it, but it's not always, the flash is not always the glitz and the glamour. Read that contract. They may not have a good contract. Like it may look good in the beginning, but how much is that is guaranteed? How much is that is guaranteed or is built after retirement? How many athletes and entertainers have we saw that were at the top of the food chain, and then years later they're broke as I don't know what. They don't have two nickels to rub against each other. You know, part of it is education, yeah, but part of it is also about the contracts that we get.
I want to go back to universities for just a second. One thing I forgot to say, particularly our public universities, UNCs, the big boys, we pay taxes to support those universities. Wait a minute, ain't that what we always get? I'm paying my taxes. But hey, buddy, I got to limit the number of you that come through here. Wait a minute. I'm like, look, see, you got me acting up. Let's go. Let's talk a little bit more, and we're gonna get out of here. Medical care, race-based. Only 5% of doctors in America are African American. Well, why is it important to have African American doctors? We are a multicultural nation.
What?
That's what we are.
Not only that. Let me definitely say this: the symptoms, the inherited symptoms of African Americans are different than other races and cultures.
Exactly.
You know, we predominantly have, and I know this, we predominantly have a history in our genealogy that leads down
since we got here to
high blood pressure, diabetes, other things.
And you know that's totally opposite on the African continent. So something happened. Look, let me just be clear. Something happened along the Atlantic slave trade that changed our body function. That's just facts.
Or I can tell you, it's what they fed it. The stress, what they fed us when you got it.
Exactly.
I heard a historian say this one time. He said we said slaves got to America, and they were like, "What is this? We don't eat this. We need some asparagus. I mean some okra, some okra and some greens. Bring that stuff back over here. Yeah, right. Like, that's what we need. We don't need some of that stuff you're feeding us."
Listen, guys. So this is what happens in medical care. This is proven. They've proven this in current medical school right now, that a number of the majority students believe that African Americans can endure more pain than other communities. So do you understand how crazy that is? Right. But culture has said that black people can endure more pain. So now when I go to the doctor and say my daggone leg is killing me,
they're gonna give you Oxy versus a Tylenol.
They're gonna give me a Tylenol versus an Oxy.
Right?
Yeah, right. That's why the disparity in the drug epidemic now with the what do you call it? The prescription. What's the drugs? You know what I'm talking about? The Oxycontins and all that. The opioids. Black people didn't go off on the opioids. You know why? Because other doctors believe you're really not in that much pain, black guy. You can tolerate that. Yeah. That's facts, my friend. Yeah. We're teaching class today, bro. We're having class today. They probably get rid of my podcast next week, but we're teaching class. K through 12. Why do you think they want to get rid of what they call critical race theory? Just make up a word. That's in college. That is not in anybody's high school. Stop listening to that lie. That's a lie.
So I want to give you a fundamental fact that happened. My mother was a school teacher. she was assistant principal. Mm-hmm. And I'll never forget when she came home and she told this story, how there were two students that got in the fight. One was black, one was white.
I already know that.
One was black, one was white, right? The principal, who was non-black, she suspended the black student for 14 days. Mind you got to be in school a certain amount of days in order to graduate. Mm-hmm. He was suspended 14 days for a fight. The Caucasian student was sent to in-school suspension for 7 days. Mm-hmm. But the Caucasian student started the fight. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And when she approached the principal about this disparity, she was shunned upon, told, hey, mm-hmm. this is not what we do. Don't worry about it. You don't get involved in this. Because she spoke up about the disparity that was going on. It was an injustice. Right. And this was in a middle school setting.
That happens every day of the week.
Every day of the week.
My wife's a school teacher, and I'm going to leave it at that. I hear the stories all the time. I challenge you. I challenge anybody. Go look in your school system data and look at suspensions, expulsions, or whatever, in-school suspensions. Look at the infraction and who committed the infraction and the length of time of the suspension or in-school suspension, and you will see a racial disparity every time. Yeah. It's just facts. Black people don't have nothing to do with that. We didn't create this. Right. It's race-based. You can do the same thing in policing. What was the infraction? What was the time served? If there's going to be time served, it's always going to be a little bit more extreme for the African-American person than someone else. Right. That's America. This is foundational stuff, guys. So if you've been doing this from the beginning, there's nothing changed. It's just to the extent, right. Basically. Listen, farming, and I'm getting ready to get off here. You getting into farming now?
Yes.
I don't even have all my numbers today, but there used to be thousands of black farmers. But over time, that land has been taken, lost. And let's think about how some of that land was taken.
Yeah, we were just talking about it.
Oh, yeah, we were talking. Yeah, you want to say anything on that? Yeah. We were talk about what's going on, like on the coastal South Carolina area.
Yeah, so I was. It was a Dateline episode 2020 that was on TV, and it was talking about in I think it was Charleston, South Carolina, mm-hmm. where the land that African Americans had traditionally owned was basically taken from them. Mm-hmm. And it was now that land was developed by the developers and was turned into multi-million dollar projects. The land was now worth millions of dollars, a high figure of millions of dollars. And that because the African Americans back in the day, let's say their great grandfather owned it, right? Mm-hmm. They never, when that person died, they never changed the name on the deed and the title. Mm-hmm. So they eventually got one member who was a distant relative cousin that nobody knew, mm-hmm. signed off on it, and they took their property mm-hmm. and redeveloped. So the family who was, I'm here every day, this is my family's land, oh, you got to go. We own this now. Yeah. By the way, you've been paying taxes on somebody that's been dead for 80 years, mm-hmm. and you never changed them, so this is our land.
You know what's going on right now with a young lady, the older African-American lady right now. Attorney Bakari Sellers is working with her, and Tyler Perry just got involved in it, where they're building this development right beside her. They're literally trying to take her land. Her family's been there since right after slavery, or before slavery, right after slavery. They're gonna take it. That's happening all along coastal South Carolina right now. I know families that are being impacted by this. It's just crazy. But right now, the federal government owes black farmers $5 billion. That's facts. There was a big lawsuit by the Black Farmers Association, I think that's what we call it, where the federal government literally refused to give black farmers loans for years while they gave our white brothers loans to keep the farms going.
Oh, that's still happening today. Yeah. I can tell you now, I'm getting into farming, that's still happening today.
But you see the number, $5 billion. So what happens, the government said, we have been wrong, we have wronged you African-American farmers, we're going to pay you. So guess what happens? Our white brothers in farming who've been getting loans, but maybe not the loan they want, to say, oh, no, that's race-based. You can't give you can't fix what you screwed up and give those black farmers what's owed to them. You can't do it. That's going on right now in America. Most people don't look at this stuff, man. I'm talking about white, black, brown in this country. Most people are very unaware of what really goes on in America. How do you owe $5 billion as a nation? How do you do that?
I need to research it because both sides of my family down the lineage were farmers.
Yeah. It's not
we own land.
Listen, I'm getting ready to close out, but I want to say to all of the audience, black, brown, white, green, to my white brothers, this is not about anti-whiteness or anything.
Right.
This is about the truth of what has happened and is happening to my community. Just like you guys get pissed about we're pissed about this because we can't continue a nation. A multicultural nation cannot grow if you're selectively screwing one group or two groups or three groups and saying this group gets all the benefits. It can't happen. You can't win.
So let me ask you a question.
Tell me.
What you gonna do about it?
What am I gonna do about it?
What's the solution?
My portion is to continue to build inside of my community, as I said earlier, through self-development, economic education, business education opportunities. That's my portion. That's what I'm going to do. That's what you're going to do along with me.
Right.
But we got to come together we got to create our own think tanks around these situations because there are people in this country that just don't want you to breathe. That's just facts.
Yep.
They don't want you to breathe.
Our own major bank.
We got to own our own banking.
Not community.
Major banking. Exactly. You got to have think tanks around this. You got to have new leadership. You got to have venture funds. You got to have investment funds that specifically target our communities because we will never make up that 250 years with a Supreme Court that's saying we don't care what we did in this country. Mm-hmm. You stay right there. Mm-hmm. You can never make that up. I'm getting ready to get off. I'm tired. You got anything else to say?
Man, that was. I want to know the solution. That was my. It's
that's
great.
A part of the solution. It's much bigger than what I said. But we got to sit down and go to work, bro.
The founding steps. What are the first? If you could tell anybody what is the first steps on how they can be involved or even get this ball rolling?
You need to start the conversation first of all in your own household. What does generational wealth look like? For me in my house. Right. What does that look like? What do I need to do? How do I need to position myself? Whether it's just from the first step of owning a property, first step of getting my credit straight to own a property. That's the first thing, that's the small stuff. But those of us that are professionals in our community that have somewhat done decently in America, we need to come together. We don't have a choice. Right. We have to come together. Just because you made it, you don't get to escape. You don't get, did they not keep Oprah out the store? Right. You don't get to escape. Yeah. You have to. We can't, in America, you hear a lot about individualism. I did this on my own strength and my power. You heard it a lot when Barack Obama was in office. For the black community, we have to do things through community. Individualism does not work for us. Right. It does not work for us. It cannot work for us, and it has never worked for us.
So I have another question for you before we break out of here. What about that person who says, I want to be involved. I understand what you're saying, but I'm not financially up to where I want to be or need to be, but I'm trying to get there. Mm-hmm. What should they start and do first? They got to
start reading and studying. I'm going to take it to the basic thing. Most people, they say, don't read anything after high school. Mm-hmm. That's black, white, brown, green. They don't read. You got to go back and read. You got to understand your country. You got to understand the system. You got to understand business. You got to understand laws. You got to understand what's going on, what's happening now. You got AI. We just did a whole session on AI and technology. If you don't go now and start studying and participating in the AI space, you're going to be left. And that's not just for black people. That's what I'm trying. Everybody. I want everybody to win. Yeah. That's what the whole point. I want everybody to win, but let's win fairly, in a fair way. Right. You know what I mean? Right. But if you're not reading anything, teaching your children,
pick up an audiobook.
They look. 300 hours of audiobook is the equivalent to university education. I don't know if people know that. That's facts. 300 hours of audio on a specific subject is equivalent to 4 years of education in that space. Mm. So the information is there, man, but we got to get this information to people so that they know, look, you can do this, you can do this, you can do this. But you got to be willing to get rid of the pride, the ego, the whole nine. It's like, you know what? We do have to work together.
Right. And I think for us, I can't dismiss this. If our community gets rid of the ego, like that's the main thing. It's about me. It's about me and the ego.
Yeah.
If you get rid of that ego, then we can go we can become and do a lot more in life.
And I've told a lot of my friends that have money, I'm like, you can't just because you got it.
Ignore everybody else
or move a certain way.
Yeah.
You can't go, I have this argument all the time. If I'm running a group organization or something, just because majority communities say, hey, that's $100,000 for that. That's just my personal opinion. Mm-hmm. I can't necessarily go charge my community $100,000 for that.
Right.
That's me.
Right.
That's my personal opinion. Other people like, no, I got to get this money. I get it. I give some leeway on it. I'm just telling you for George. Right. George Gilmore. I can't do that because I know it can help advance us so that our children's children, as the Bible says, are in a good position at some point. But we got to change something. Like, this is urgent. Yeah. This stuff we're talking about today is urgent, bro.
You cannot become a multifaceted business owner without coming together. I can just tell you can try on your own. You're gonna hit a ceiling. You're gonna hit a certain limit to where you can't go any further. You're gonna try to figure out why. The system gonna let you. The system gonna tell you, oh, buddy, we're gonna get ready to put the lid back on you, my friend. Right. You're getting too far. That's right.
You're getting too grown. As my grandma used to say, you're getting too grown for your britches, son.
What happened to my guy that went to that spoke at Morehouse and gave everybody that graduated?
Smith.
Yeah. And then right after he paid everybody's tuition, what did he do? They tried to get him.
Yeah. Oh, we got a problem.
We got a problem here.
Smith, what's his name?
Robert Smith.
Robert Smith. Yeah.
He was empowering a generation of Morehouse young men that could be the next generation of leaders. Yeah. That was powerful. That was like hands down. People glaze over that fact. Mm-hmm. Like people worry about more so social media than that fact alone. Mm-hmm. That fact alone changes the trajectory of those people. Let's think about this. Let's even take it a step further. How many people out here still that we know still have student loans to this day? Mm-hmm. He just eliminated their debt.
Yeah, that's the point.
Their biggest major debt he's eliminated. So they walk into the job market debt free. Mm-hmm. That's huge.
Yeah, absolutely.
That is huge.
Absolutely. Mr. Smith, Mr. Robert Smith. Listen, guys, I'm tired. I've talked 50 minutes. I was supposed to talk 20 minutes. TJ messed up, Frost. He went too far. Y'all probably say George went too far. I don't care. I'm 54 years old. I don't care. I promise you I don't care. I believe that America really can be a great place, but it's got to really be a great place. And it's got to be great for everybody. At some point, it has to be great for everybody. So my closing thing is, America loves affirmative action. But who is the affirmative action for? Let's go. I'm out, bro. Thank you for tuning in to the Wealth 100 Show. Today's show has been sponsored by the Wealth 100 Mastermind. If you're ready to join a tribe of winners, if you want to be a part of the best mastermind on the planet, go to thewealth100.com right now and apply. I need you to get into the room right now, guys. Let's go. Thewealth100.com.